We got quorum. Yeah, quorum. Yes. Oh, no. Glad you're here. Good morning. We're going to call the meeting to order. MAPS 3 Citizen Advisory Board. You have agendas, and I'm looking for item number 2, approval of minutes. It's been moved. Second. Second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Yes. Bob.
One thing I noted in the minutes on item number 2 on approval of the April minutes, the list of who voted and who were absent doesn't match up with who was present that day, so may have been.
We'll get that corrected.
Copied from the previous set of minutes, but
Yes.
I assume everybody voted in favor except those who were absent.
Okay. Appreciate the correction on that. Approval with corrections. Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Minutes approved. Okay, item number 3, receive MAPS 3 revenue expenditure report ending April 30th, 2014, and the MAPS 3 budget and obligation report as of June 9th, 2014.
Madam Vice Chair, as you said, this is the MAPS 3 revenue and expenditure report for the period ending April 30th, 2014, and you have this in your packet in its usual form. On the revenue side for the month, we have $8,925,343. For the fiscal year, $89,643,305 for a total program of $398,528,376. On the expenditure side, you can see the various expenditures for the programs and go over for the convention center. It's a program consultant charges. For the fairgrounds, we have construction and we have architecture ongoing on that. Health and wellness is consultant charges. For the park, we have land acquisition fees and consultant charges. The river, we have Downey Construction is our most significant charge there. On the streetcar, we have our consultant working on the streetcar project. That's our most significant expenditure there. And likewise, on the sidewalks, we have 2 contracts under construction, and the trails, we have 2 contracts under construction. So those major expenditures on those projects are construction projects. So for a total of expenditures for the month, we have $2,680,412. For the fiscal year, we have $26,074,084. For total expenditures on the program of $55,976,945. Then moving on to the budget and obligation report, as has been requested, you can see each of the budgets, how much the obligations were. We have a total of $83,654,974 obligated, and you can see the remaining budget, $655,344,026. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Just to clarify, David, I guess the obligated on the budget and obligation report, the $83 million, is the $55 million that we've spent to date, plus contracts that have been let?
That's right. If the contract is for $3 million, that will show up over here, but the expenditures might only show $1 million that's been spent so far.
Okay. And I just make a comment, it looks like it was a good month collection-wise.
It was.
Lots of shopping.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 4, recommend resolution renewing the MAPS 3 program consultant services contract with ADG Incorporated and approving amendment number 6 to the MAPS 3 program consultant service contract fee increase of $2,497,675. Project M3 ADG-G001.
As you all know, we have ADG, who is our program consultant, and they help us with many different things, not only with plan review and all the work that's gone into the implementation plan, but they're also an extension of our staff, and this is a contract that is renewed each year, and this is this year's renewal. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
David, is that fee a consistent number?
It is.
Okay, great.
It's a little more than last year because we've ramped up on construction and they have people out in the field working. And it's a little less on the administrative side because we've done so much on the implementation plan. But for the most part, I think it's fair to say that it's consistent.
Okay, and is it essentially based on hourly charges, or is it?
It is. It's also just based on people, the amount of people that they have assigned to the projects.
Great. Well, they sure are doing a fantastic job for us. It's wonderful. Don't know what we do without them.
Bob?
Just really more a matter of curiosity. On the second page of the resolution, there's a breakout of the source of funds. Are those proportional to what the project bears to the overall cost of MAPS 3, or is it sharper penciled to really look at how much is spent on each of those projects by ADG?
It is, because they've got a general program amount for the whole MAPS 3 program. We break it out and separate it into each of the programs, so the fairgrounds gets an allotment, and the streetcar and the park and each of them. So that's what.
And that's based on really what they expect to have to commit in their resources to the particular project?
That's right.
Okay.
Any other? Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Resolution passed. Number 5, recommend resolution approving contract for architectural services with Frankfurt Short Bruza Associates, P.C., for MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center Number 2, fee of $992,900, project M3-H003.
This is our contract for the second wellness center, and it's gone through the same process that all of you have gone through with all the different projects. It goes through the notice, and then the letters of interest, and then they're shortlisted, and then the interviews occur. So this has gone through that same process, and we recommend that we contract with FSB to do the second wellness center.
I'd move approval.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Number 6, recommend resolution approving memorandum of understanding and agreement between the City of Oklahoma City and Independent School District Number 89 of Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, concerning the property located adjacent to Capitol Hill High School, currently owned by the school district, and which is the proposed location of the MAPS 3 Senior Health and Wellness Center Number 2.
If you recall, the operator has been chosen, and the operator also chooses the site, and they want to be near the Capitol Hill High School on land that the Oklahoma City Public Schools owns. So in order to make sure that everybody's on the same page, we are processing this memorandum of understanding so that everybody will understand that we intend to either buy or long-term rent properties to do this wellness center. So this MOU went through the subcommittee, and after it went through the subcommittee, it went to the Oklahoma City Public School Board. They looked at it, they've approved it, they've signed it. It came back to the subcommittee to approve, and now it's coming to you. So this will go on to council so that everybody knows what everybody's doing.
So the city will have to acquire the property eventually, right? Because we can't build MAPS programs on property we don't own.
No, we can do long-term leases, and that's yet to be determined. We also don't even know how big a piece of property that we need to do, so that's why we just have this general memorandum.
A temporary situation, we eventually have to.
Right, there are really no specifics, and it's not a purchase of land contract or anything, it's just an understanding.
David, I think just as a comment, I think it's really exciting that we're moving forward already with Center Number 2. I think there was some concern for a while that we weren't moving very fast on these senior wellness centers, and in the last couple of weeks, we've seen, great work on one, and now we've seen number 2, and I know everybody's really happy, Mike, with the location of this down next to Capitol Hill High School. So it's really exciting to see us having a chance to work with the school district on this project.
Looking for a recommend of the resolution? Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Number 7, recommend resolution approving the change order number 1 for MAPS 3 Phase 1 West River Trail connection, South Council Road to Northwest 10th Street, increase of $14,805, project M3-T001A.
As we move into construction, it's common to start seeing change orders because of field conditions, and specifically this is our West River Trail, which is along the river, and you can see there's 2 items in here. There's some drainage pipe for an area that once we got out in the field, we realized that it should have a pipe underneath there and not just be allowed to flow across the trail. It's a little more significant of a drainage area than we expected. Then also, like on item 2, there's debris removal. When we purchased this property, it was assumed that the property owner wanted what was on the property and he would move it, but it turns out he doesn't. So we have to remove that debris, and that was not included in the contract. So this is a $14,000, $805 change order.
Madam Chairman and committee, as you're aware, yesterday the subcommittee reviewed these recommendations and passed them unanimously to move them on to the advisory board.
In that discussion, was there a part that said, in this case where some debris was on the property, the assumption was that it was going to be removed? In the future, can we maybe get those things clarified before we move forward with the
Yep.
contract?
I've already talked to staff about that.
Thank you.
And just a follow-up, is there any way to charge that back to the former property owner?
No, no, there's not.
Okay.
So looking for recommend resolution. Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 8, recommend resolution approving amendment number 1 for MAPS 3, Phase 1, Project 1, sidewalk improvement increase of $44,725.95, project M3-W001.
Likewise, this is another document for additional money on a project, but this differs in that this is an amendment. So the items that are shown on this amendment have already been established through the bidding process, and when they bid the project, just for instance, there would be so many square yards of sidewalk, and they would give an amount for that and extend it on out and get the cost. Well, as we go through and find field conditions, some of those quantities increase, some of them decrease, and this is an adjustment to some of those quantities, and these are increases. So we already have the price established. It's just additional quantities of that item.
It's like the price established for the cubic yard of concrete, that needing more concrete or something. Is that because the bid document wasn't clear, or?
You can only do so much on a set of plans, and let's say you show a line where you saw cut a driveway because that's where you think it needs to go, and you get out in the field and realize that there's, a corner broke off, maybe 18 inches of corner broke off, and you realize that when you saw at that point and you poured this concrete against it, it's not going to do justice to the property owner, and it's not good construction practices. So they would move that saw line an additional 18 inches and cut the driveway there, and that's where you get additional quantities. That's just one of the things. We've also had citizens ask us, it's in their property, in their front yard. A lot of these are, even though they're on arterial streets, their houses front onto the streets, and they've asked us to do this or that to make it better for them. So we've added curb here and there, and it's just miscellaneous things, and because it's a large project, it adds up.
Okay, thanks. I'll second.
Just
Thank
a
you. Other
question on that.
discussion? Bob?
David, have these, amount of the 44,000 some odd, already been expended, and we're just reflecting the actual expenditures, or is this an estimate?
These have already been expended, the things that were in the field that needed to be done so that it didn't slow down the progress of the project. Okay.
Thank you for your questions. Good questions.
And again, this was reviewed by the subcommittee yesterday and passed to move on to the advisory board. If there are no further questions, I would move that we accept the...
Okay. I think we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye? Aye. Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passed. Number 9, recommend resolution approving change order number 2 and amendment number 2 for MAPS 3 Phase 1, Project 2, sidewalk improvement increase of $148,748.30, Project M3-W001A.
So we've had a change order and we've had amendment. This is both. This is a change order and amendment. It has an item in here that was not in the original contract, which is item number 1, and then item number 1 on the amendment is quantity adjustments, as I explained on the previous project. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I move that we accept the resolution approving the change order number 2 and amendment number 2.
Second?
Any further questions, discussion? Thank you. All in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 10, recommend resolution approving the contract for engineering services with MacArthur Associate Consultants, LLC for MAPS 3 sidewalks, Phase 3 improvements fee of $373,980 for sites to be determined, Project M3-W003.
This item is very similar to the one with the Wellness Center. It's gone through the same procedure. As far as the notice of letters of interest and the notices and the interviews, and we recommend that MacArthur Associated Consultants be selected as the engineer for what will be Phase 3 of the sidewalk projects, and this is the first half of the additional monies that City Council authorized us to spend for sidewalks.
And David, just as a reminder, that extra dollar allocation was $9 million?
It was $9 million, and it was out of excess collections.
So we'll be breaking this project into 2 pieces of $4.5 million each.
That's right.
And if I recall in our meeting yesterday, the reason it said sites to be determined is because we're not quite sure how far those dollars will go, so we're working our way down a pre-approved...
Right. The sites will follow the plan that we did, the sidewalk plan. We will continue to go down that in priority list, but at this point, we really don't know where we would end up, so that's why we put sites to be determined, but they're determined by the study that we did. And there's also some sidewalks in there, in that list, that Public Works is picking up through other funding. So
Okay.
we're working closely with them to make sure that we get the right ones, and we'll just continue down the list.
And so the second half of this phase of dollars would pick up where we finish off on that list?
Yes.
Thank you.
And David, didn't we say yesterday that might be actually 3 phases to this?
There might be 2 projects. You know, the ones we have right now, the first phase we broke into 3 projects, and the second phase we split into 2 projects. So just in order for it to be manageable and better for the contractors to bid, we might split this into 2 projects.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Do we have a
I
motion?
move
to
that we
Thank you.
accept the resolution approving the contract for engineering services with MacArthur and Associates.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Nay? Thank you. Number 11, recommend resolution approving the amendment number 1 to the contract for engineering services with Johnson & Associate Incorporated for MAPS 3 Oklahoma River Phase 2 improvements, increase of $50,850, project M3-R005.
This is an amendment to an engineering contract Johnson Associates had a contract to do what we call Phase 2 of the river, which is, various pieces of the race course and associated things that will support that. And after they completed their preliminary report, the River Subcommittee recommended that we do a storage building out there, and that wasn't in his original scope of work, so we are compensating him for the design for a 50 by 100 building that's out there. It's got a concrete floor, it's got restrooms, they had to extend a water line for fire protection, and they had to do some sewer work out there. So this is for extra engineering on that. And this comes with the recommendation from the River Subcommittee.
Further discussion?
Move approval.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Resolution passed. Number 12, recommend resolution approving final specification to be advertised for bids for MAPS 3, Oklahoma River Whitewater Facility Site Mowing, Weed Eating, Weed Control, and Debris Removal, Project M3-R007.
One of the things that we learned quickly with the park is when we own property, we have to maintain it. And now we own all the land down there at the Whitewater facility. We anticipate that even the pieces that won't be under construction will need to be mowed, and there'll be some upkeep. The Boathouse Foundation is doing a lot of that right now. And we don't expect to spend the $75,000, certainly not in the next year. But this is a contract that we'd like to have in place in the office so that if it gets to a point that it needs to be mowed and taken care of, that we have that ability to do that.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Resolution approved. New business?
Don't have any.
Okay. Item number 14, MAPS 3 Citizen Advisory Board Subcommittee reports. Do we have any subcommittees that want to report anything?
Well, the River Subcommittee met this week and of course, approved the couple of resolutions you saw in here, but we also discussed, I guess, the Whitewater facility has gone out for bid and hopefully break ground later this summer and look for a target completion date late next year. So we're very excited about that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have something to add. So we didn't meet today, but I kind of want to provide a general update on something that the streetcar subcommittee is thinking about this summer. And I'll keep it general, that way I don't mess up some facts, but David, you correct me if I'm wrong. So we've known for a while now that because of state law we can't do design build, which means for a streetcar you can't bid the vehicle and the track at the same time. You have to do them sequentially. And we've also have placed a priority on keeping our options open for technology as far as, wireless or wired. If it's wireless, then whether it's done by recharging or, recharging a battery or underground electromagnetic. So we've kept those options open, I think longer than we thought we originally would. I think by now we thought we'd have a technology picked out. But for good reason. Everybody agreed to keep options open for technology. But it's kind of become apparent that may result, this is not known yet, but it may result in a delay in the overall project. Could result in running into budget constraints. So you can imagine a scenario where you buy the cars because you have them designed and you pick them, and then you go through the process of designing the infrastructure to go with the cars, and then the bids come in and you've broken your budget. And so we want to make sure we do a very good job of avoiding something like that, and there's some very good ideas on how to do that. And so, not worried about that as long as we're thinking proactively, which we are. But it has become apparent, at least to me and some others on the committee, that we may need to decide sooner than later on the propulsion, because the RFP for the vehicles is going out very soon. And the idea originally was keep the options open, have a very general RFP, but it may have that unintended consequence. And so we're going to have some very, serious discussions this summer about, do we want to instead have an RFP that is very specific, where we designate the technology that we want for propulsion, and therefore potentially stay, on schedule and on budget. So something that's still in progress, and so, right now kind of a little bit more questions than answers, but it's something that we're thinking very actively on and want to make sure we have something that we can be comfortable with this summer. So just want to throw that out there. That's coming up. That's it.
I'd just like to ask a question of David. If it becomes necessary that we have to have some additional special meetings as well for the subcommittee, will that impose a problem as long as we get announcements out and it's planned adequately?
It's not a problem as long as there isn't something to be approved that needs to come to the advisory board, and then it becomes somewhat of an issue, but we'll work through it.
Okay.
And I guess another way that I'll kind of state it too is it's still a prerogative to do what we think is best, but the way I'm looking at it is we had letters of intent received from a dozen or more suppliers, manufacturers, and so we already have a really good sense of what's out there and what they're willing to supply. And so I feel like that we've pursued educating ourselves on the options and what the market will actually provide. So I don't feel like that we're just, if we decided to decide on technology, that I don't think we'd be missing out on anything. But something else that how I would kind of couch it is, to me, the marginal benefit of maintaining or extending optionality is not worth the trade-off of potentially busting the budget and extending the timeline, and also potentially having to have maybe less track because of that budget constraint. So that's kind of the balance that I'm looking at. But any questions?
Nathaniel, did you say it's state legislation that prohibits the design-build part?
Exactly. And so a lot of options over the last year. There's been a lot of things that we've tried to do to maybe have a acceptable kind of workaround to that constraint. Even looked at trying to get it changed in this legislature, but it's also a city charter issue. So I mean, this is something that city staff and everybody involved, ADG, has been working on for quite some time. And so it's not caught us by surprise, but now it's becoming apparent, at least to me, that it's decision time, for those reasons.
Right, that this isn't something that we can work around, so that we need to go ahead and just operate under the existing conditions.
That's my opinion.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yes?
Just an FYI, Susan, yesterday the Senior Health and Wellness Center Subcommittee had an informational presentation from Healthy Living, Inc., which is the first Senior Health and Wellness Center. Will be located around 112th and Rockwell, as you all recall. And I see Meg with a sort of a smile on her face, and I share the enthusiasm and happy thoughts about the presentation that we heard. It's very exciting, and I expect, David, we will have a more formal report that comes before this body in either July or August.
That's correct. It'll probably be August because their contract requires them to turn that in late July, and we won't have time to go through it.
So for those of you who think, rightfully so, that the Senior Health and Wellness Subcommittee hasn't done anything for 4 years, I would tell you that for many of those months we haven't, but we've caught up, and really excited to hear that presentation. Charlie, thank you.
Congratulations. That's great. Okay.
Madam Chairman, the MAPS 3 Trails and Sidewalk Subcommittee met yesterday, in which we discussed the resolutions that we've already passed, and I don't see that there's any further information to bring forward the board.
We do anticipate hoping to bring the I-44 trail to you soon, maybe next month. Just a point of Vice Chair, it shows me again how important our subcommittee work is, especially Nathaniel. Really appreciate the hard work that your committee has gone through to study and keep up with all of the options, and it's difficult. And these aren't just yes committees. We have a lot of work that we've been doing. So, gosh, tell your committee how much we appreciate their hard work, and really everyone, the seniors, Wellness Center. It's been a long time coming, but congratulations. I know that now that you've seen some plans, that's got to be a little bit rewarding for you. So, congratulations to all of us.
Hey, so if I could just comment as well. I've now had 3 months, I think, to be able to serve as the council observer. I see Councilman McAtee in the audience, and Larry served in this role as well. It really provides a much deeper insight into the level of work and commitment of the subcommittees. I've spent a little more time on transit, and a little bit more familiar with how deep that work is. But even, as we mentioned yesterday in the committee, even sidewalks. People think, how hard is it to build a sidewalk? It's hard. And you've got driveways and trees and on-site conditions, and it just doesn't happen without people really sincerely looking hard at it and making compromises and making decisions every day. So I think our citizens in general should be incredibly pleased with the level of time and commitment and energy that these subcommittees each are putting into assuring that we deliver a product that we're really all proud of and that we promised.
Which also goes to thanks for staff in ADG. So we know we couldn't do it without your guidance. Thank you. Other committee reports? Let's move on to informational items.
Thank you. In your packet, you have informational items. You'll notice that it's time to change vice chairperson position. So for next month, for the following year, Mike Dover will be vice chairperson. And then also in item B, there's a permanent easement that was accepted for one of the sidewalk projects.
Congratulations, Mike. Let's see, that's item 16, update status maps 3 program. David?
I do have some updates here. As Mr. Adams said, the Whitewater facility is out for bids, and on the river, the Phase 2 improvements remain under construction, and those are wrapping up soon. And as we talked about the senior wellness centers, we have the senior wellness center number 1 underway, and number 2 with the contract today. It will go to council. Assuming they approve that, that will begin design very soon. Trails and Sidewalks is very active. Phase 1 sidewalk projects 1, 2, and 3 are under construction. Phase 1 trails, project 1 and 2, which is the river trail, is under construction. And then Phase 2 of the sidewalks, project 1, is due to go out for bids here real soon, probably within the next couple of weeks. And then Phase 3 sidewalks will begin soon as we approve that, or recommended approval of that contract. And at Convention Center, the conceptual design continues with coordination with the park consultant and the boulevard conversations that are going on. Fairgrounds is another place that's very active. The parking and utilities are essentially complete. If you've been out there, you can see this large parking area that they have and the utilities that were put in there. But also the expo building is out for bids. We had pre-bid on that yesterday. So that will be bid about the middle of July. The park, the design of the upper park is underway, and coordination of utilities is underway. And Nathaniel described the position of the streetcar right now with preliminary design continuing. So still very busy.
Great. Item number 17, comments by board. Any other comments?
I'll just mention, I know there was a process recently at the river to get some input, I think, from board members and subcommittee members, and I don't know who all else, but I've had I participated, and I thought it was a very fair and open conversation that the people had, and the way it was conducted and the way it was, I think, was very helpful and was, I guess, designed to gather a lot of facts and public opinion and people's vision on the thing. And so I've had a lot of other favorable comments from other people who participated, and I think it was a very fruitful process and something that I think everybody was glad to participate in.
Thank you. I was hoping that, did you sign the agreement that you would be one of the first riders?
Maybe just to tag on to that, one of the things we discussed in the River Subcommittee meeting was now that the Whitewater facility is out to bid, once we get those numbers back, we'll go back and revisit the windscreen, which was an important project as well.
Great.
I wanted to add good job to Susan for chairing today, so
Thank you.
getting finished in record time nearly, I think.
Do we have any staff members with comments? Any citizens? Thank you. All right. Looks like this job is done. Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.